conversations where you can't hear each other for whatever reason, and we push through. But Torraine and I, we were having a conversation offline about the African Braid Boycott, man. So we wanted to get together and do it live and have that conversation. You know, it starts today, and it's a big deal. The African Braid Boycott begins. It's time to buy black for real this time. For real this time. So Torraine, to start us off, man, what do you think is different about, you know, this particular boycott, this separate, you know, that kind of sets us apart from the Walmart, whatever, there was a Target boycott, and there was other boycotts by Jamal Bryant and Al Sharpton?
Well, man, first of all, brother, thanks for having this conversation, man. I think it's a necessary conversation. But to answer your question, honestly, man, what we're dealing with right now is a situation where Black people, Black Americans, are finally starting to realize that we have a separate ethnic group here, and Black Americans are tired of being disrespected. Now, I want to say this before we get started, because a lot of the conversation around this topic is trying to say that Black Americans are xenophobic and Black Americans are trying to like turn their backs on their brothers. But what's happening here, man, is the fact that what you're seeing is a reaction to a lot of disrespect and a lot of insults that people from the diaspora, and technically the diaspora means anybody outside of Africa. So that technically means Black Americans too, but what it means, people from Africa, people from the Caribbean, and not all people from Africa or the Caribbean, but a very small but very vocal minority of people who are very prominent in academia and in entertainment who have said negative things about Black Americans. And that's running right smack dab into the fact that Black Americans are really starting to flex their economic muscle and flex their political muscle as an individual group, as a separate group. So that's what you're seeing now. So I think this boycott, what's different about this is that I feel like this is a reclamation of Black Americans standing on their economic power and realizing that we have the power to move things and we have influence. And I think that's what this is. And the scaring people, that's really what it's about.
Man, that's a hell of a way to start it off, man. And I appreciate that, man. That definitely crystallizes for a lot of people out there that need to understand. I also frame it myself, Torraine. I say, you know, I agree with you, and I say we're not here to demonize anybody. That's not what I'm on, man. That doesn't help us. Demonizing doesn't help. But let's be clear, man. Black Americans have paid the cost to be the boss as far as how our narratives and how our story should be told. And that story deserves its own legs to stand on. You know, we've been in this country, you know, we built this country without our permission, against our free will, and did not get compensated for it. And now we have a situation, we have those that come in to the country, and I don't think they give us our due respect. I don't think they acknowledge what it took for America to be at this place where it is right now, where they can be so successful. It's not about hating on them, but it's about recognizing that us as Black Americans, where we're sitting right now in the hierarchy of this country, is unacceptable for us and for our children. So this is not about denigrating another group. This is about us taking a look and saying, you know what? We have to make some moves unilaterally, individually, as a people, as a group, a distinct group. And we need to start doing that today. And if people can't understand that, you know, I question if they're really seriously considering where we are. So maybe today we can educate people about where Black America is. Because if you judge us based on how much money Shaq got, how well Oprah doing, you know, maybe you'll have a different opinion, but that's not the average everyday Black American.
Yeah, I think, like you said, brother, this conversation is long overdue. And if we're going to get into it, we got to go back to the beginnings of it. As you said, Black Americans, not because of their free will, we were brought over here. We were forced to be chattel slaves. We built everything in this country, whether it was our physical labor, whether it was our intellectual labor, which doesn't get enough credit. Right. And a lot of the inventions that were created in this country to either further agriculture or the further industry were usually created by the people who actually had their backs on the ground, literally doing that stuff. If you're picking cotton and you want to try to figure out how to do this without the labor being less backbreaking, you start figuring out ways to make that. And somebody like Eli Whitney can make a cotton gin, but he doesn't make that without watching the way black slaves were able to manufacture things and do that. If you're trying to get into a building, you don't do that without figuring out, if you work in an elevator shop, to figure out how to build an elevator to get you from one building to the other. And I'm just giving those examples to say that we've always done that. And also, because we've done that, I think a lot of people in America have taken that for granted. White people in America and people who become immigrants in America, they don't realize that everything that they set foot on and build here has been built on the backs of black blood, sweat, and tears, and manual and intellectual labor. And I think, like I said, that translates to people from Europe. It translates to people from Africa. It translates to people from the Caribbean. A lot of people don't really know this history because this history is so deep, and because our footprint is so embedded in this country that people don't see it. They think that everything is over here just on their own merit, without realizing you're standing on the backs of Black Americans. And that's, I think, what's happening now. We knew this stuff back in the day, and I think you're seeing everything come back around full circle to people realizing that, yo, we are Black Americans. We built everything. We deserve a piece of this country. We deserve to be acknowledged for what we built in this country, whether that's through financial compensation, whether that's through political compensation, whether that's by just general respect. And I feel like because people have taken that for granted for so long, the fact that they're dealing with this now scares the hell out of them, and they don't know how to deal with it. So they give you these labels like you're being xenophobic or you're being hateful, when it's not the truth. When it's like, just acknowledging your heritage and acknowledging your history is not xenophobic or hateful, and demanding respect for people from people who come and put their feet up in the house that you built is not disrespect. That's just acknowledging the truth.
Absolutely, man. And, in fact, I'm not going to waste any more time trying to explain what we not, that we not xenophobic. I'm not going to waste any more of my time in Black America. I think we done explaining that we are good people and that we deserve how to feel however we feel about this situation. At the end of the day, we are coming to your business and spending money with your business. So we are the consumer, right? So the consumer don't have to explain to you why we don't want to spend money there. But I do want to say it's not just African companies that I want to focus on, though this boycott is focused on African braiding. And we're going to get into numbers. We're going to talk real data about that. But make no mistake about it, man. The Latinos can get it, the Asians can get it, and white folks can get it too. Because we are primary consumers of all those groups. We consume products and services from all those groups. And what are we getting in return? That's the real question, right? So, yeah, I'm not going to spend any more time on that. But I will say, just to clarify, this is about prioritizing our needs for ourselves. And I think any person, you may have a good heart, you may be big-hearted, good-hearted, beautiful person, but Black Americans, because I know how you are. A lot of us close to that Bible. You know what I'm saying? I know. I look. Nothing wrong with looking out for other people, but it's a good steward of anyone's dollar bill. You got to stop by taking care of home. You got to stop by taking care of home. We don't even need to have this conversation with the Ethiopians because they're already spending their money with the Ethiopians. Jewish folks don't have to have this conversation because they're already spending money amongst themselves. And we could go down the list of Koreans and Chinese and all different types of people, Nigerians. These people all spend money within their group. And I think on the low, they laugh at us for not doing the same. So that ends today. Torraine, I'm speaking for me, but Torraine, I mean, I'm emphatic, man, because I feel like we're a joke. I feel like we're a joke to these people, and they don't respect our buying power, and it's time for them to respect it. I can go on the data, Torraine, or I can go back to you before we go to data.
Well, yeah, before we go to data, I do want to say this, and this has to be said. A lot of these other groups, just like every other group that comes to America, the first thing you do is nobody else loses sight of the fact that wherever they come from, even though you come here and you might be an American, like you said, nobody separates the fact that you might be a Greek or you might be an Italian or you might be a British person or an Irish person, especially Irish, or somebody from Nigeria or from Vietnam. No matter where you're from, your community does not get broken up because of the fact that you live in America. And your economic base does not get broken up by the fact that you live in America. Like I live in Atlanta. If you go past Buford Highway in Atlanta, if you know Atlanta, you know Buford Highway. You have Asian shops, you have Korean, Japanese, Vietnamese. You also have Nigerian. They trade with everybody else in the wider community, obviously, because there's a lot of braids, a lot of the raw materials that distribute like hair and stuff like that. A lot of people who have shops go there to buy their hair, but they're in their community. Then you're going to find restaurants over there. All that money circulates in their communities. What black people do, unfortunately, is the minute we get a dollar, we have to spend it with people outside of our community. And to be fair, a lot of that, to be honest, is some of our fault. And I'm gonna tell you why that's our fault. I say this a lot. From the day that the Civil War ended up until 1964, even through the midst of Jim Crow, the Black Codes, Reconstruction, due to segregation, due to the Klan, due to terrorism, we dealt with all that. But because of that, we still had enclaves in every city where we had a population in America where you had black neighborhoods, you had full black towns where black people traded with each other. Like a perfect example is if you read some of Zora Neale Hurston's work, pretty much all her work is set in black towns, like in Central Florida, where I'm from. If you look at Centers was basically a perfect microcosm of that, except for the Asian lady and her family. Everything in that city was black. You know, you had the black barbershop, you had the black little country, you had the people who would with the junk joint, all that stuff, even though they had to buy it. There was self-contained enclaves of black people spent their money, they grew their own crops, they sold their crops to white people, they sold their crops to everybody else, but that money came back into their community. And through that money, and through the black church, we was able to build up an economic base, even though we dealt with stuff like Tulsa and stuff like that, but it was an economic base where black people had their own doctors, lawyers, they had their own newspapers. There's an excellent documentary called Soldiers Without Swords, but talking about the black press that black people circulated within themselves. The minute the ink was dry on the Civil Rights Bill, the black people who could afford to got as far away from the rest of us as they could, and they went to go throw their money in white hotels. They went to go throw their money in the white neighborhoods to show that I'm just as good to buy a house right next to you. Some of them had to go live in their neighborhoods. And some of them had to join their social groups and everything, and they masons and stuff like that. And I'm not knocking that, but what they failed to do was the way other people did that stuff. When they did that and brought that information, brought those resources right back to their neighborhoods. The people who I'm talking about got as far away from everybody else they could have never came back. And that's how we left. That's how we lost. And that was our mistake. Like Dr. King said, I feel like I've led my people into a burning house, and a lot of people in that talented 10th group and a lot of people in those circles got as far away from they could and then lost themselves. So that's how we got here. Nobody else does that, bro.
You know, I look for answers to that. You know, I acknowledge that as well, Torraine, man. And I say, what was going through their minds? I know hindsight is 2020. You know, I have no idea. You know, what exactly precisely motivated people, other than trying to get away from discrimination or to get away from oppression. But yeah, is this hard realities is we need to fix it. You know, I know people are going to have different opinions about how we got to this point, but once you awaken, you realize where you are, it's not a good place to be. We got to make the move. Let's talk a little bit about black buying power versus wealth creation, right? So I know people have heard these numbers before. For instance, Dr. Umar talks about it a lot when he's trying to get donations. Black buying power in 2023 is $1.8 trillion approximately, right? So the median black household wealth is $24,000. Now that's actually slightly up. It's not a lot of money, but it's slightly up from where it was. But when you compare it to white wealth, it's around 188,000. Remember, these numbers they differ depending on the source, but they're in the same ballpark. Latinos at 36,000, and Asians at 91,000. So we spend the most, no matter what you look at, whatever graph you look at for the wealth in the prospective communities, we're gonna come off the bottom, and we're gonna be spending the most but having the least. That's one thing that's gonna be consistent no matter what your source is. So just looking at those numbers is very sobering about where we are. So when you look at that, you say, hey, if anybody needs to change from being consumers, solely being consumers of other people's products, it will be us. It will be the black community. And if you are my friend, if you say, because I hear a lot of them, oh, my African American brother. I hear them talking, Torraine. Well, if I was your brother, you would want me to do better. You would want me to have more, wouldn't you, if you was my brother? Because my adage is, Torraine, if you my brother, you want for me the same thing you want for yourself. I'm not saying African folks shouldn't be successful. I'm not saying, that that I'm wishing bad on them, but we have to worry about us, and that's this process. And when you look at the numbers, you'll see something has to change. And I think one of the things we control, I ain't say Africans stop spending with Africans. I'm saying Black Americans need to spend with Black Americans based on these numbers. What do you think about those numbers, Torraine?
I'm not surprised, brother. Unfortunately, yeah, we make the least and spend the most. And I think part of that's why we stay in the positions we're in. I know this is a sensitive topic for a lot of Black Americans, but we consume. That's what we do. We have been some of the best customers of everything America has to offer. And I understand some of why that is, because a lot of our self-worth is wrapped up in trying to adorn ourselves and make ourselves look like, if I can afford this, then that means I've arrived in society, even if you still are making around $20,000 a year, $30,000 a year. And look, you can't, some of the hardest things in the world to do is change people's habits. But I think what you can do is at least give people or help people reclaim some of this pride that we have in ourselves to say, if I'm going to spend this money, if I got to get my hair braided, let me find a sister or let me find a brother who cuts hair. Let me find a sister who I know who is good and talented and who can do this stuff so I can give them my money and we can keep that money circulating. If I want to get some clothes and stuff, why don't I find a brother who's got a designer company that got some brands that I want to rock with, who we can do that stuff with? We do that all the time on a small level. But I think what we've gotten away from, we've gotten so caught up in being consumers and everything that looks like us and spending money. And like you said, not just with Africans and people from the Caribbean, because some of our people who have money got no problem running down to the mall or running to exclusive boutiques and flying out to LA and flying to New York to give money to Europeans who make fun of you before you come into the door and talking French and Italian about you and stuff, and you still giving them $10,000 and stuff like that. That's crazy too. So if we're going to do this, we got to start figuring out some kind of way to, first of all, respect the stuff that we make for ourselves. We got to stop trying to lowball people who are trying to be Black businesses and trying to make work, because you don't do that at Balenciaga. They're going to laugh you out the stove. And you don't even think to do that. But we'll do that with our brothers, and we got to be able to figure out, if I want to see our people make money, we got to be able to spend with our people and see the same quality and have the same thing. And I think that's part of it as well. Some of it's mental, man. We got to get out of this mental idea of like everybody else's ice is colder. And everything we do, we got to try to argue everybody down and try to get a discount on stuff. We don't do that for everybody else. So it's got to be a lot of work on both sides of the aisle to do that.
Yeah, man, we do. And I think one of the things we got to take ownership of is the professionalism that we come with as well, right? So if you got a business and you're offering products or services, hold yourself to a high standard. You know what I'm saying? Torraine's right. We must try to do business more with each other. There's no way around that, but we also got to give a reason for people to want to do business with us, right? And we should not take it for granted. If Torraine hires me or I hire Torraine, he should expect the top-notch service. In fact, he should expect me to go above and beyond, man. He should expect me to wow him with the service I provide him. That's how we should operate with one another. You know what I'm saying? And so, and if we do that consistently, we'll have our own Yelp system. You know what I'm saying? And at the end of this, I have a list of ways for us to buy Black. I know, Torraine, when you first hit me up and I knew we was going to do this topic, man, I was thinking about Killer Mike's episode, his show on Netflix. And all the roadblocks that brother ran into trying to do that, trying to buy Black. You know, and that was a little daunted, like, damn, man, we gonna have this conversation, and I know Killer Mike just tried to do this, and it seemed like it wasn't even feasible for him to do it. Not in all cases, and that's what got him to move to doing the Black Bank. But I don't think that's a reason not to do it, because when you help a brother or sister achieve their dreams, man, it's a feeling you get, man. It's something different. The fellowship, the love and respect, the mutual love and respect is part of it. That's part of it. I think we can't overlook to know that you are actually touching the lives of people that look like you, that you're helping my family. I'm helping your family. We are working together. That community achievement, that us doing that together is important. And I know there's going to be some gaps. Someone already said in the comments, Tim, we always had the money. I get it. I understand that completely, right? I understand that completely. But when we do have the money, when we do have the resources, it's not all the time for all things, but when we can, we should. So I wanted to go to this black dollar circulating thing. I'm sure you've heard about this, Torraine.
Yeah, actually, that's kind of funny, man. First of all, shout out to my brother Killer Mike, man. He always does solid stuff in the A. I remember seeing that. It was his show was called Trigger Warning a couple years ago, and it's funny, but it's sad because he tries to go through a whole day. I don't know if it was a day or a week where he just tried to just completely buy all black products from everybody he could, and he was able to start out with a few things like some toiletries and stuff like that, and little by little, when it got down to like housing and cars and stuff like that. I think by the end of the episode, he ended the episode like in Piedmont Park sleeping on a bench. And it's funny, but it ain't, because that shows you the dearth of like services that black people have. And that goes back again to what I was saying earlier about some of those services that were lacking on that show, were some things that at one point you could always go to somebody black who had a business who could provide you. There were black car dealerships, there were black realtors. There's an excellent movie called The Banker people should check out with Sam Jackson and your brother from, I'm blanking on his name, but they basically did that in the 50s and stuff. They had to get a white front man, but they was handling all the business and stuff. It's a real good movie about that. But to the point, man, I want to push back a little bit about to the person in the comments, because even though we talked about some of the economic metrics of black people, we got to be honest with each other. We got money for the things we want to have money for. That's just the truth. There's money in the black community, because if there wasn't money in the black community, all these other ethnic groups would not be in the black community, even in the deepest of the hoods, with a hair braid salon or a fish shop or a fish sandwich place and stuff like that. You know what I mean? I don't care if you can go to the worst hood in America, you're gonna find an Asian restaurant and you're gonna find a hair braiding shop. That's the ministry's gonna always be there. So where's the money coming from if ain't no money? What it is we've been trained not to deal with ourselves. And when it comes to dealing with each other, then we feel like we don't have any money. But back to your point, though, brother, there needs to absolutely be a whole mindset shift about who we shop with when it comes to us. But like you said, we also have to be able to give each other the same level of customer service or better customer service that we would expect from other people and everything. Because look, we got to be real if we're going to have this real conversation. Some of our people do not have good customer service when it comes to businesses and when it comes to work. The only way you can really get away with having bad customer service in the black community is if you're an old black lady with a real good fish plate or something like that. We'll put up with the mean old lady because the food be hit, but everybody else, you got to really go above and beyond and stuff like that. And a lot of us don't do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's something that went viral a couple months ago. Was Wallow and Gilly. I think it was Wallow from $1 Million Worth of Game, right? And he had I guess he does like public speaking or some type of I don't know, work groups that he does, right? So he was given one of his classes or whatever, and in his speech, and I'm paraphrasing, I can't get it exactly, but he was saying how he don't owe anybody his money, and he went on this rant like, if your business ain't right and you don't have what I need, and you being black, that ain't no reason. That's a hustle. You trying to get me to buy from you just because you black, and ain't no reason for me to buy from you just because you black. And he went on this tirade, man, and bro, I was like, wow, man, now I could be wrong. I understand his frustration, but I gotta say, man, I've never seen a white person do that. And I be on the internet all the time. I've been on the internet working for a living on the internet for the last decade. I haven't worked any other job in 10 years. This is my job. So if it's out there, I probably would have seen it. I've never seen a white guy shitting on white businesses. And don't tell me there are some bad white businesses. I know, because I've had to sue a couple of them. So don't tell me that. You know what I'm saying? So it just hit me a certain kind of way, because so many people remember that one black business that did them wrong, and everybody wants to talk about that one black business. What about the one black business that did you right? What about the black folks you hired? They did a good job. It's like, we always gonna remember the bad memories. We will remember the bad interactions. That's what we put online when we do our customer experience, that bad experience, and maybe we don't go back. But one black business that may have let you down is not all black businesses. Black businesses are not a monolith. Some people who are just starting out need to learn a lot. Some people don't start business till they've been working in a business for somebody else for quite some time. And those people are going to be more seasoned. You know what I'm saying? Black women, for instance, are the leading entrepreneurs in the country. They start more businesses than any other group. That includes everyone. All right. So it's not that we're not trying to start businesses. We are. It's not that we know everything. We don't. No one does. We got to give each other grace. We also got to hold each other accountable. With this buying black, we need to do both things. Give grace, but also hold accountable.
No, I agree with that. And I agree with, you know what, I can see Wallow's point, and I can also see your point, because I understand if you really do want your people to succeed, seeing people who are falling short in certain issues when it comes to customer service or when it comes to other issues, but 9 times out of 10 for us is customer service. I can understand if you don't, sometimes if you don't articulate it the way people take it, it seems like an attack. I get that. But at the same time, you know, people will go more than happy go to them corner stores where they got bars in front of the window, and you got people who don't even talk to you in their language and stuff, and they take your money, won't touch your hand, and then they throw it down in that little change thing, and people take that, and businesses sit there 20, 30 years. Nobody says nothing. I feel like there's like a double-edged sword of like we want our businesses to do better, but we accept abuse and we accept disrespect, or we accept toleration from everybody else, and we don't trust, and we don't check that. Which goes back to the boycott conversation. I think that's part of the reason why there's so much hostility to this particular boycott, because I think people aren't used to seeing black people push back like this, except it's a major corporation that's basically faceless and they can't see. A lot of these businesses that people are pushing back against are people they see every day, and I think it's the beginning of what you're going to see down the road, and I think that's why people are nervous about it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, they should be nervous. They should be nervous because let's go here. Let me go to this. So black dollars circulate in our community for only 6 hours. Now, this is not verifiable, right? So I'm trying to source this, right? I want people to, before we move on, I want people to crystallize this in their minds. Why this is important. Why is it important to buy black? Because Jewish folks buy Jewish. Latino folks buy Latino. Mexicans buy Mexican. They do that first. Ethiopians buy Ethiopian. Jamaicans buy Jamaican. Like they're already doing it. We're the ones late to the game. They don't need to have conversations about it because they're doing it. Now, this anecdotal story, this is what people say though. Asian community, they say $1 bounces at 28. It stays in the Asian community for 28 days. They say $1 stays in the Jewish community for 20 days. In 17 days in the white community. I don't have a listing here for Latinos because maybe when they came up with this, there weren't enough Latinos in the country. But they say the black dollar only stays for 6 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Now, once again, I can't verify it. Now, I'm trying to find where did this come from. Somebody somebody wrote this down sometime in the 90s. They published it, but they did not provide the statistics.
Mm-hmm.
But let's just say let's say that it's half right. That would still put us very far behind. So when you consider it this way, you have to admit that there is work to be done. I want people to not just look at this as something nice to do. The Target boycott that Al and them were doing, that feels like that's something nice to do. You may or may not even go to Target. I don't even shop at Target, so it didn't affect me at all. But this should be a mandate. This buying black should be a mandate. This is a necessity. If you want your children to have a place in this country, this is what you need to do. Nobody hire black people like black people. That's first of all. Black people are the #1 hirers of black people. Yeah, we may be a little slow with our customer service. We may have things to work on, like Torraine put it up. But guess what? I ain't never heard nobody get shot. I never heard of a Tawana Brawley story of a black girl going to the counter in a black-owned store and getting shot over a soda. I never heard that. All right, you know, these instances of storekeepers shooting black children. I never heard that within the black community. So there's something about more than just respect. What about life and limb? When we look at these markets where they call the cops on us, these markets where these violences occurred, does it take that? Does it take black women being disrespected by an Asian shop owner for us to finally say, hold up, man, now we got to do a demonstration outside the shop? Maybe we should just switch up, start spending money with ourselves. That's what we should do. So Whether you agree with the numbers or not about the percentages of how long a dollar stays in the community, realize only 2.4% of U.S. businesses are Black-owned. Only 2.4% of U.S. employer businesses are Black-owned. Most Black businesses are small operations like a one-man show like mine.
Mm-hmm.
That's reality.
Yeah.
So that's part of the reason why customer service is low, because we have less employees, because we don't have the income. We're not generating the profit, the income. We're not generating the income of taking home the profit in order to employ more people. Torraine?
Yeah, I'm actually glad you brought those numbers up. I like to sometimes use like film and like entertainment analogies to talk about stuff because I do believe like a lot of images, a lot of messaging comes through film and stuff like that on the quiet. There's a movie that I tell people they should always watch. It's an Adam Sandler movie, believe it or not. It was kind of his foray into doing drama. It's a movie called Uncut Gems. Have you seen it?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. So for people who don't know, the movie Uncut Gems, Adam Sandler basically plays a screw up. He's a Jew. He's a Jewish guy. Obviously, it's Adam Sandler. He plays a jewelry merchant in the Diamond District in New York, and he's trying to basically rob Peter to pay Paul. He's like got gambling debts. He's got a lot of bad stuff going on. He's got a wife that he's not faithful to. He owes like Kevin Garnett a big necklace that he's hustling around trying to move around and get some more bread and stuff like this. So basically, the purpose of the movie is it's basically a classic low-key like screw up movie, sort of like Dog Day Afternoon. He's trying to hustle everybody to try to get this bread together. He owes some mobsters, he owes his wife, he's borrowing money left and right from his father-in-law and everything like that. But here's the kick of that movie. Everything that happens in that movie, except for Kevin Garnett and that necklace, happens within the Jewish community. And if you're not Jewish, you wouldn't be privy to nothing going on in that world if you didn't know. That ties into what the brother Tim just said about money and also personal business circulating, staying in the community. All that stuff ties into the guy he owns is a Jewish mobster. His father-in-law is a Jewish guy. He has a wife who's Jewish and he's cheating on her with a blonde chick. Everything that happens in that community and everything because the money in that community stays in that community. There's a scene in the movie where him and the mobster are all in the same synagogue and the dude's giving him the evil eye and stuff like, man, I got to get up out of here because it happens. Because every other community, like I said before, has kept their infrastructure in place where they can trade with each other and they can have culture with each other and they can build with each other, good, bad, and different. Black people, Black Americans are the people who basically gave up a lot of that stuff that we built over that last 100 years to go throw our money at everybody else to be consumers and not keep our infrastructure together. We used to be able to go to the church the same way Jewish people go to synagogues and be able to get money to go to college or be able to get money for food drives and stuff. And except for the mega churches, nobody don't have the resource to do that anymore. We don't have the resource to be able to get loans from pastors and stuff like that because too many of our pastors are too busy trying to buy jets. We don't have a lot of that stuff going on anymore, so we got to really get back into that anymore. A lot of stuff, we gave up a lot of stuff in that civil rights bill. The civil rights bill was a lot of good things. There was a lot of beautiful things that came out of it, but it told a lot of our people who had the means that the way to succeed is to go over here and move on up. Even it's kind of funny going back to look at some of that old content, like that stuff like the Jeffersons and everything like that. Like I got to move up and go live with the Willises and live in this high rise and everything like that and don't even go back to the shop anymore. We lost a lot of our infrastructure and we lost a big brain drain when we did that. And I think we're just not breaking enough of that.
Deep. Yeah, absolutely. And what we're having right now, which is hopeful, man, is this feels like a renaissance, man. It feels like an awakening, at least since I've been online, awakening of so many people, man, that Black people, I think, really are truly coming into their own politically, more so than they've ever been. I feel like we're coming along. We're tired of business as usual. We recognize our value and our wealth, and we have all this technology around us, man. We need to use it to our benefit. You know, there should be some of you younger folks out there, man, and older folks too. I know how to use AI. We need to be on top of the new technologies that are coming out and starting our own businesses. It's a lot of opportunity here. But what this boycott represents is not just about braid shops. It's a wake-up call. We can build respect. We can't build respect begging others to treat us better. We must treat ourselves better first. That's what Torraine was talking about. So you can't boycott your way to power if you won't also build your own base. So that's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to build our own base. I can move on. I got a couple action items because one thing I want to do, I don't want to get too far with me just running my, talking with all these ideas. We want some tangible things that people can do. And I have three things that people can do. The first thing you can do is audit your wallet. And I'm serious, man. I want y'all to try to do this, man. Three things. One thing, very simple. Audit your wallet. Ask yourself, can I buy this from a Black-owned business? Just ask yourself. If you do the inquiry, you have done something. You've done something that you normally may not even be considering. Is there a Black option for it? Number two, build your circle. Follow, amplify, and support 5 Black American entrepreneurs or creators every week. I got after the show last night, young lady contacted me. Her name was Cindy, and I won't give her last name. She said, Mr. Black, I love your show. Is there a way I can get to the show? I said, sure. I sent her my CashApp, my PayPal, my GoFundMe. I sent her everything. I sent her my merch link. I sent her my Patreon sign up, my YouTube sign up. I got like 6 things. Okay. If you're a small business person, you need 6 things too. Okay. They call them buttons. You need 6 buttons people can push. I know Torraine's got a Substack as well. So, he got like probably 6 things, 7 things. You need to have all those things in place so people have the opportunity. Don't just have PayPal, and then when somebody don't have PayPal, they can't do business with you. I gave her 6, 7 options for her to contribute, and she did. And last thing, number 3, support cooperative economics, promote and participate in buying clubs, group investment funds, or community banks, credit unions. That's something Killer Mike was talking about.
Yeah, I think those are really good items, and I think those are 3 things that anybody can really do that aren't really, the pain point for that is really low. And I think also what's important about what you said is these are things that start here first, because once you get people thinking about it, and then they see that they play around with this, and they say, oh, this is something that's easy to do. Okay, I can find like 3 or 4 Black creators or something. If I want to buy something, maybe let me look around and find out who's actually authentically Black, and I can buy from them. The support, like you said, the second thing is really easy, because everybody's online, everybody using their phone. So if you want to contribute, you can go CashApp, PayPal, shoot me something via Zelle, that sort of stuff is small. If you have consistent work and you have things that people want to support, those things are really good, brother. I think that's a really good way to start.
And anybody can do it, man. And if you providing something of value, you need to provide ways for people to pay you. Provide ways for people to circulate the money, and then you in turn do the same thing. And I was thinking beyond this, Torraine. I was thinking, okay, how do we build into the system so that people feel like, okay, if I'm gonna trust this person with my business, what if they don't do good business? What's the recourse that we have? Well, look, and Torraine, I'm open to suggestion, bro, because I'm just thinking, bro. Once we have to police each other in this. We have to work together. If you have done business with somebody, and what's the brother that still, I think Dr. Umar still owe that brother King, still owe my brother some money from some business he did. I forget the name of it. Somebody know him. The brother with the school, the young man was working with the kids. And
Randall.
King Randall. King Randall was complaining and said, hey, Dr. Umar still owe me money for when I invited him on. I paid him to do something. He didn't do it. And we can't have that. That is unacceptable, man. If the Black community, if somebody in the Black community, you can't be beating brothers and sisters. If you are, your brand is going to be toast. I've been beat by certain people. I'm giving you fair warning now. I had a sister beat me out of some money. Now, cool. And she may be upset too, because she's like, well, you should have known, Tim Black, because maybe I was being cheap. But that's all I had. I had what I had, lady. I have a lot of money to give you. Then she turned around and I didn't feel good about it. I don't think she felt good about it. But at the end of the day, guys, we have to do this, for this to work, we must be on the honor system. And know this, as a Black community, we're going to be able to go to the Black community and tell on your ass. We got to have a way to keep each other in check. We have to have a way to do that with love, lovingly. We don't have to have people that can mediate. If I had a problem with a brother, I don't know what brothers we have in common, I should be able to hit up Torraine and say, Torraine, man, I don't know what's up with your boy. Maybe Torraine can help broker it. Maybe Torraine could be the mediator in that situation. What I'm saying is, if we're going to try to do group economics, we got to act like a group. We got to act like a group because we do not need other groups do that. You just don't hear about it. Too many times I think Black Americans assume that other communities don't have problems. You don't think there's Jewish people with problems within their community about a business deal? I think so.
Bernie Madoff, remember
him? Damn. Yeah, that's a big one. Yeah. He took people's pensions and flushed them.
Yeah,
But for some reason, you give each other a bad name, even though I can't remember Bernie Madoff black situation.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Torraine. I'm joking, man. Go ahead, Torraine.
No, it's real. You know what though, man? I think you know what? That is one of the things where things get really, really difficult because, like you said, and I've done research on this too as a business owner. You know, people who do good work, they may tell you a lot of businesses who have good reputations, they do word of mouth, and that's how they get more business. Yeah. But somebody who has a bad experience with a business owner, they go online and blast it out in front of the whole world. And they've done studies on this that bad news, bad reviews get bad reviews drive people to get online more than good service does. They just keep going back. But the tricky thing about it is how to discern what's a really bad review from somebody who just maybe didn't do something on their part and they want to snap. Because if you're online, you know, like every other week, some sister who has an experience with a bad hair braider gets online and puts her whole information on blast on Facebook. That's something that happens all the time. And I don't think, you know, that's their beef. But I think we need to figure out a way to do that. They're saying that this could be better and this could be done a little bit better. And the business owner has to be able to receive that. Like the one thing I do have to give the corporate businesses, even when they get bad reviews or somebody's on there wilding out on them, whether it's by robot or whatever, they always say, I'm sorry about this, how can we make it better? I mean, it might be a robot response, but that does calm people down and they go back and look at that stuff and fix it. A lot of times with some of our businesses, and I just gotta be honest now, sometimes they get bad reviews, and the first thing they do, what do you know? You know, they get online and want to go to people. Remember the brother, who was it, Keith Lee, who was doing the food reviews? Yes. Remember he was in Atlanta for like a weekend, and he went around and did some reviews, and he hit up a couple of restaurants that didn't have bad service. And the video and the restaurants went and made like this videos about him and stuff like that. I'm like, bro, that's not gonna get you nowhere. And it ended up killing a lot of the business in the city because, like, man, if you wild out like that, I'm not even gonna deal with that and stuff like that. So they had to go back and retract. I mean, that's unfortunately because some of our businesses are like one-stop shops that have mom and pops and everything, but they're living in this digital age. They don't know how to take criticism constructively, and they take it personally. They start going out and trying to lash out at people. And that's not really good, man. Now, I think the idea that you're talking about is good to have some sort of Yelp review and have some sort of way to be able to do this from a respectful standpoint. Because like you said, other cultures really do this. Like in the Middle East, there's a thing called a souk where everybody, because they don't have like a lot of material wealth, but they have a lot of goods and services, and people can come sort of like to the bazaar, and everybody has trust because most of that stuff is dealt in the community because these are people you got to see every day. So people don't come there unless they can back up what they say. Okay, if I got some goods to sell, you know, my wife, or I'm a really good tailor, I'm a good seamstress or whatever, I can trade, I can barter this. And you got some things you can barter with me and we can do it that way. You got a well, we can do that. So people do that and they actually build like economic wealth off of that. If you have bad credit, quote unquote, like if your goods aren't good, the person who doesn't have bad goods can come to you and check you about that. It's like you see in these movies of people be beef with each other like this, and like in the Middle East, stuff like that. You know what I mean? That's because somebody has some bad goods. Somebody has stuff that didn't work and they get pushed out of that circle. They just trade with people whose goods are quality, they can back their stuff up. You know what I mean? I think that sort of thing is something we do, and you have to be able to stand on it. Like I had an experience. Like I do T-shirts sometimes. I have a shirt, "Black Men Speak Freely," that I have on my site. And a brother, about a year ago, he ordered a shirt from me, and for some kind of reason, through the supply chain, it didn't get to him. And he said, "Hey, brother, I've been waiting on my shirt. It couldn't get to me." And I tried to follow it up. I couldn't figure it out. So what I did was I just ran off the shirt myself. I boxed it up and I just sent it to him. "Here you go, brother." And he said, "I appreciate that." He went online and said, "He got my shirt. He took care of this stuff." Stuff like that is good too. We got to be able to make good the things that don't come through because that happens in any business. But we got to be able to stand on it and get in front of it. There's a lot of things we need to do, man.
Absolutely, man. And I need to get a shirt from you too, man, because that's a hell of a statement. I love the "speak freely" statement. That's a very popular statement. I can see rocking.
Black Man Speak Freely, Speak Free shirts. I got them right on spring.
There you go, man. And see, there we go. We need to promote that. And I know exactly what you mean, because usually I have merch as well, right? And it's fulfilled by Spreadshirt. So I don't have to do anything. I put the design up. It's all handled by a third party. But with these mugs, I did them in-house. First time I ever did anything in-house. Man, I had so much to learn, because there's certain boxes for shipping glassware, so I had to make sure I get the right grade of boxes. And it was a rewarding process as well, learning about everything I needed. I got my postage machine. I got everything I need to ship it. I got a fulfillment center in my basement, right?
Mhm.
Well, I had a person who placed an order and they never got their mug. And everything is processed. I get an alert on my phone through an app that says, you got to order. I use WooCommerce. Folks, WooCommerce is who I use. So everything is digital. It's great. When I create an order, when the order's created, I get an email. Once I start processing it, they get an email. I don't have to remember to send them an email. They get an email saying your order's being processed. When I print out the stamp to go on the box, they get another email. Your box is ready to be shipped. Your package is ready to be shipped. And when it's shipped, they get that too. Your package is now on its way. All that is done so my customers are made aware of what's happened. Well, I had one customer who didn't get their mug, right? Turns out when they placed the order, the website doesn't check to see if you put your apartment number. So they didn't put their apartment or suite number. But I didn't care about that. I said, I'll take care of it. I'll fill it. I'll fulfill it. I was able to go in through my software, folks, and see that the mug came back to the post office in Portland or wherever they lived, and they didn't know what to do with it. They would have sent it back, but you know me, I cross out my home address because, I gotta be, Mrs. Black don't want anybody to know where I live. But anyway, the point is this. I ate the $20. This person, by the way, had bought 3 mugs. They bought a mug, came back, bought another one, then bought one for a friend. So on the third mug, I paid for that one. Because in good customer service, I wanted her to know, look, man, you ordered 3 mugs for me. You didn't get one, I got you. The fact that you went out your way to order 3 of these, you get a free one from me. And that's just the type of attitude I think we gotta have when we're dealing with each other. We have to go above and beyond. And even if you gotta eat I had to eat what? $13 is how much this mug costs for me to send it, to buy it, to send it, everything included. So I only make like $6 or $7 per mug. That's all I'm making on a mug. But I'm willing to lose $13 if it keeps her from going, Tim Black don't do good business.
Exactly.
That's the point I'm trying to get to. I know I took a long time to get there, but the point is, look, do what you got to do. It's better to lose $20 than to lose your reputation. You understand what I'm saying? And that's the point I'm making there.
That's good. Speaking of somebody who does branding, that's actually a good tagline. You need to hang on to that. That's a good one. But that's real though. It's like, and I think also too, man, I think a lot of people want to call themselves business owners and they don't realize the work and the push you have to really make that work, because especially if you're working for yourself, there's a lot of stuff you have to do that's not sexy. You know what I mean? It's like there's a lot of stuff you have to do. If you don't have a 9 to 5 and you're working for yourself, there is no 9 to 5. It's a 24/7, because you never know what's going to come up. You never know when you may have an idea that you got to take the scale. Some things you also have to learn how to make small. And this is another thing that happens a lot of times too when we talk about Black business, because some of our people, God love us. I know that we are really a brilliant, beautiful, amazing people, but sometimes you can't be a hair braider. You can't be a hair braider and a music producer and a videographer, and you can't be a dancer, and you can't be like you can't have a podcast, and you can't have all this stuff when you're just one person and everything. You got to be able to stick to your 1 or 2 things, do those, and then you can build things around it. Because I see that a lot. It's almost like it's kind of funny. We have remember the Jamaican family on Living Color.
Yeah.
When
like 10 jobs.
Yeah. I'm a judge contestant. I'm also a good judge of character. I'm good at stuff like that. You can't do all that stuff. Sometimes you got to pick your talent and deal with that, man. You know what I mean?
Right. Good point, man. Good point. And I don't want to discourage anybody from going into business. Just to say I work a lot harder now than I ever did when I worked a job. Know that, because my boss is a slave driver. All right? He don't give me no days off. I don't get no weekends.
Yeah.
because my boss is an asshole and I'm my boss. That's the guy. I'll be one to file an HR complaint against myself because that's how it is when you run your own business. But back to the point, man.
Yeah.
Look, we buying black. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about African Braid Boycott. Yes, we are boycotting the braid shop. And one day soon, this week hopefully, I'm gonna go up to that African braid shop because Nadine's is in Bowie, Maryland. I'm not too far. I'm in Waldorf, Maryland. I'm about 20 minutes from her. I'm gonna go up there. I'm gonna do some filming, and I'm gonna look to see if y'all asses at the boycott. I mean, at the African braiding shop. Don't let me catch you coming out of the African braiding shop. I'm joking.
Yeah,
I ain't gonna do that. But I'm serious that I had some numbers, man. Let me get these numbers, bro. I had some numbers I wanted to pull. It was about the amount of money we're spending with these braid organizations. I don't know where it is. Because you go here while I try to see if I can find it. Because there are some numbers in the industry that shows that okay, let me say this. 90% of women's hair braiding in the black community are done by people that aren't black American. That's it. 90% by other people.
I got some data because I was actually going to pull some of my own, and I don't know if this coincides with what you got, but this is what I pulled from Pew Research and also from Charles Schwab. African Americans spend significantly on beauty and healthcare products, with 2023 data from Pew showing $9.4 billion in beauty product spending, particularly in fragrance. That's 22.4% of dollar sales. Hand and body lotion, 16.6% of dollar sales. They dominate the ethnic hair care market, accounting for 54 million of the 63 million total industry spend in 2017. And Black Americans spend heavily in general hair care, 473 million annually, and skincare, 465 million annually. That's just what we spend, and I know the majority is mostly like Black women that they spend, because I know if you're married, if you've ever been in a relationship, you go to a woman's house, you're gonna see a whole bathroom counter full of stuff. You know what I mean? Right. Brother might have a little cone in the cut over there with toothpaste and like some hand lotion. That's how we usually get down. But that's a huge market. That's a huge consumer market of money that's going out of the Black community. It's going to like Europeans, and it's going to like Africans, like you said, the Caribbeans and stuff like that. All that money is money going out of the Black community to make other people rich. For 9.4 billion annually. 9.4 billion would it be?
9.4 billion. I wrote it down, man. That's a crazy figure. Only 2.4% of U.S. employers' businesses are Black-owned. Meanwhile, 90% of Black hair care market is controlled by non-Black companies. That's it. Many are Korean or African immigrant owned. So we're only 10% of our own market. We're only 10% of the businesses in the Black hair care market are owned by Black Americans. Mm-hmm. So anybody who's heard about this boycott has something negative to say. Imagine if that money was back into our communities. Imagine if it was back in the homes of our children. Imagine if it was circulating amongst us. That would you can't say it would hurt. It wouldn't hurt. It would be a bonus. It would benefit us. So this is why the Africans that I've seen online, those that are online complaining, this is why they're upset, because they know it is consequential. If it didn't matter and it was such a little bit of money and no one gave a damn, then no one would be complaining, would they? Now, see, they sour because we're a significant amount of their bottom line. That's why I saw Miss Nadine on there crying, talking about, oh, Lord, are we going to do better? We going to do what my man from Actify Press say, Michael Graham, what do you say? What is she apologizing for if they're not doing anything? What's there to apologize? Why is she apologizing to Black women or Black Americans if she's been treating them well? It's nothing to apologize for. Get what I'm saying? So that in itself, to me, Torraine, shows that there's a lot to be done. If you have a 24-hour shop, that we're the ones going there to get their hair braided. There ain't no white women going there to get their hair braided and no African braid shop. That's sisters going in there getting their hair braided, right?
Yeah, you might see one or two at the very least every couple of years. That's about it. You know, it's always one or two in there. But yeah.
Who? The one Sydney Sweeney. Who's going there getting there? Who is it? Brooke Shields? Michelle Pfeiffer? Who getting their hair braided? Who was the girl from the Brady Bunch was on? I'm gonna get you, sucker. She might be with the militant dude. That's a whole other conversation. Ain't that many? Look, it ain't that many of them. So look, and another thing, they be hooking each other up too. Did they hook us up the same way they hook each other up? That's another thing. I've been seeing people push back on us on this boycott, Torraine. They've been mad. They've been making videos. I ain't seen in my life for life. I ain't seen so many Africans making videos. Making videos about us boycotting them. They got something to say. They don't know they're not helping their cause. Come on there shitting on Black Americans doesn't make us want to spend money with you.
Now we're going to get into a real heavy part of this conversation, which needs to be said. There's two things that have allowed three things that allowed the current state of events to get where they are. The first is the 14th Amendment to the Constitution. The second is the 1965 Immigration Act. Yep. And the 14th Amendment, for people who listen, I know you got a really intelligent audience, but I just want to put this out there. The 14th Amendment essentially codifies citizenship, saying that if you were born in the United States, no matter where you are from, if you were here, then you were entitled to all the rights and privileges of United States citizenship. The way that came about is because, as I said earlier, the state of events in the Deep South at the end of the Civil War was such that Black Americans were getting their homes destroyed, they were getting their businesses destroyed, lynching was coming up, there was the rise of the KKK. So President Ulysses S. Grant pushed through the 14th Amendment and also sent federal troops to the Deep South to enforce that law that said that you cannot bar African Americans from having the right to vote, to be able to go about their business unmolested. And it also said that they were full citizens. That was the main thing, because they were trying to make an argument in the Deep South that Black Americans who were been newly freed were not full citizens. And the 14th Amendment hammers out directly: Black Americans are citizens of the United States with all the rights and privileges thereof, and we have remedies in place to punish you if you try to push back on that. That basically open up the door for anybody who was born in the United States, no matter where they may have come from, to be considered a citizen. Right. That's also part of the reason why a lot of people from Europe were able to come here and build new lives. The other part of that is the Immigration Act of 1965. The Immigration Act of 1965, without getting into too much detail, basically pulled down all the racial quotas that were in place for the Immigration Act of 1920 and 1924. Prior to that, you had to be a white, either Anglo-Saxon Protestant, or you had to be from Eastern Europe, and even there were quotas on that, or you had to be from Western Europe. They were given priority when it came to immigration. They could come over freely. That's why you see, stuff like Ellis Island, when people come in and see the Statue of Liberty. Right. Your name could be Giuseppe or whatever. They're going to stamp your passport. Well, your name is Joe now. Welcome to New York. Go over there and live. Even though, not saying that they lived perfectly, but they were living in tenements and everything, but they could walk through and become American citizens, become Americans because they were white. There were strict quotas on people from China, especially on the West, because they had actual quotas and stuff in place where only a finite amount of Chinese people could come in every year. If you were Japanese, you could settle in Hawaii, maybe in certain parts of California, and that was it, Oregon, that sort of stuff. Black people from sub-Saharan Africa could basically not come into this country at all. They would trickle in little bits, pieces of, like, a lot of African students would come through, and there was a set quota on that. Anyway, the 65 Immigration Act basically wiped away all the racial quotas, so anybody could come in from all over the world. Because of that, and because of the 14th Amendment, you could come here, have children here, be considered citizens. Because you were Black and you were dark skinned, you could still pull from that pot of benefits that were going on in the 1960s that were supposed to be earmarked for Black Americans who were born here, who came out of chattel slavery, who were able to push through the Civil Rights Act and move a lot of stuff in the Civil Rights Bill. Those bills were initially coined for Black Americans who were born here, who were the descendants of chattel slaves. But because you were black skinned, whether you were African or not, you could come over and you could say, I'm Black American too, which you are. You are African American because on paper you are African American because you were born in Africa, or your people were born in Africa and you were born in America. But technically, like I talked a lot about the spirit of the law and the letter of the law. By the letter of the law, Charlize Theron is African American. By the letter of the law, Elon Musk is African American. By the letter of the law, who's the guy? Ethel Fuga, the South African playwright who immigrated to America. He's African American. He's a white man. They're all white, but they're African Americans. So you can have a situation like Mandambi in New York, who technically is African American because he was born in Uganda. His parents moved over here, and you could put that on his form. But the spirit of the law means that those laws were designed to basically suffer the redress for Black Americans whose descendants were either slaves or they were freedmen who became free after the Emancipation Proclamation or after the Civil War, and their ancestors of that. So when you have two things at each other, It's easy to come in and take advantage of that. It's easy to get loans because of that. It's easy to get a lot of benefits because of that, while you're still reaping the cultural benefits from your family and from your heritage that Black Americans can't access because you're in the way. Now, that doesn't mean that Black people from Africa are deliberately trying to undercut Black Americans, but the status quo says that you can, because these things are in place for you to find those loopholes and play around with that. And what's happening now is Black Americans are saying we need to close those loopholes and we need to take care of ourselves. And we need to be able to take advantage of these things that were set aside for us in the first place, so we can take those. And because people have done that for generations, they've been able to take advantage of it. It scares the hell out of them. So you're going to get pushback. You're going to get hysteria. You're going to get called xenophobic, but they're just going to have to eat it. We're just going to keep going.
Wow, man, Torraine, man, you just took us to school with that, man. That was a dynamic sharing of information, man. I'm so glad you did that. And all I can add is, my brother, All Things Education Official, he sent me a link. He's a teacher. He's been on my channel before, and he works primarily in the inner city schools. He works with kids. He's a school teacher for 25 years. He put out a video and he was speaking to the need for us to delineate. And on that same topic, he was talking about how disrespectful some are towards Black Americans, and they don't understand or respect how Black Americans have paved the way and how they are benefiting from our work. And they talk a lot about Black Americans being lazy, not working hard enough. We're not putting forth the effort they put forth. That's why we're unsuccessful. And he brought up something that I had not considered. When you come to this country, thankfully to those clauses like the 14th Amendment that Torraine just referenced, you also have programs. They get the EBT, they get Medicaid, as well as they get something that I hadn't even considered. Since you're from another country, you don't got a credit score. So you can come in here and build credit very quickly. You also don't have a record. These are a lot of things that Black Americans, imagine if you could go start over in a new country and you get start out basically building your credit all over again. You don't have to go back and take care of creditors. If you had a problem when you were 18, you did anything stupid, no one knows about it. It's a clean slate. That's the life of the new immigrants, all of them when they come over. No one knows if they have a driver's license. No one knows if it's been revoked. No one knows if whatever they did in the past. No one knows if they owe, they could owe $100,000 on a loan that they walked out on in their country. Who knows? None of that works against them when they come here. But when they talk and when they go online and they have these conversations, they're comparing us like we're apples to apples. Nah, we're not apples to apples. Apples to coconuts, okay? Apples to whatever that is, the guava fruit, okay? There's a big difference between the two. So I just want Black Americans to understand. I'm real heavy on our mental health, man. Black Americans, you need to understand. You know the field isn't level. I want you to understand how uneven it is. I want you to understand why we work so hard, because as I stated earlier, our Black women and Black men as well, #1 entrepreneurs in the country, starting businesses. What do we do with our money? With that little bit of money we got the stimulus, we went out and started business. We went out and launched a food truck. We went out and started a t-shirt company. That's what Black Americans do. We're very ingenious. I'm not bigging you up. This is not cap. This is statistically what we are. Black women are superior when it comes to entrepreneurism. And then Black men are right behind them. So we have obstacles we have to deal with. And what we're trying to do with this, Buy Black, Torraine and I, and the rest of those that support this, we're trying to take away the obstacle of us not doing business with each other. The mindset that there's a stigma behind working together. We need to get rid of that mindset. The white man's ice ain't colder. The African's braids ain't tighter. Okay? And we need to focus on buying Black. I'm done, Torraine. What do you think?
Man, you just gave everybody a real education when it comes to how the mindset should be. Because I believe all this stuff starts in here, and I keep going back to this. When you start looking at the things that we create, and we start looking at the businesses that we build, and we start respecting those again, because we used to do that, you know what I mean? Yeah. And I feel like what's happened is, I think we lost our way a lot. I think a lot of us have really internalized this idea that we have to go to other people to get good quality stuff, or we have to be able to trade with other people to get something that's good quality. And I think what we got to go back to the idea is that if we are the creators of everything, because we love to say that about ourselves, if we are the originators of culture, if we are the people who started everything, if we have so many inventions, then we got to give the things that we build in the past, in the present, and in the future the same level of respect and the same level of patronage that we give to everybody else, because everybody else is building on the backs of what we have built. And what they do, and they're very good at that, not just Africans, not just Caribbeans, everybody does that. They're very good at paying attention to what Black people do, Black Americans, taking it, remixing it, and trying to sell it back to us. We buy it because we think it's better. We got to get rid of that mindset, and we got to come back to building with ourselves and being respectful of the things that we build, because we have all the tools we need. We just got to pick them back up and start building again, man.
That's it. That's it, man. Man, that's. I think, man, this is a great start. It's a great start to what I think is a very worthwhile goal for all of us to try to attain to. I don't know who started this momentum, but I'm glad to be a part of it. And I think that we all have something to offer. Torraine, I know you said you were going to send me some slides or something you wanted to share, brother. Did you send over your documents so I can put them up on the screen real quick?
Yeah, I sent you via email and stuff. Did you get them?
I got you. Oh yeah, I got you. Yeah. Yeah, I got that, man.
Okay.
Dope. Let me see. This is okay. What is this, Torraine? Let me see if I can get that up on the screen real quick. What is that?
All right, let's see. I don't know which one you got, but I sent you a couple.
I see this one.
Yeah. That is the flag of that is basically the Black American Heritage flag. There's two flags. There's the foundational Black American flag and the Black Heritage flag. That's the Black Heritage flag. I put that up because that's sort of become the symbol of the boycott. And basically all that does is represent that we are Black Americans with a unique lineage here. No matter where we came from, we have created an ethnogenesis in the United States where we have a unique food culture, we have a unique way of speaking, we have a unique way of dressing, and hopefully that can go get us all organized towards saying that we have a unique economic base here that we need to tap into again and rebuild.
Man, that's amazing, man. I love it, man. Actually, I've seen it before, but no one put it together for me exactly what it symbolizes, brother. And then of course, I see you here. And this is what you do, right? This is all your links, brother.
Yes, sir. That is my support links. As you know, I do. My background is in journalism, and I also do writing. I do audio, video. That was basically me. I forgot what show that was on, but I pulled that still and put that together. But yeah, like I say, I have my Substack that goes live. I have a new article that goes out every Monday morning at 7:00. And if you want to support my work, you can support via CashApp, PayPal, Patreon, Venmo, and also Zelle. So, I try to put as many ways for people to support my work directly if you want to do that. And also, I have a lot of, I have my T-shirt link, which is Speak Free is the store on Spring. I don't have it up here yet, but you can go there and pull it up, and you can have the Black Men Speak Freely shirts. You can find those as well.
Gotcha. Absolutely, brother. In fact, I was mentioning to my audience the other night, I talked about your new article coming out, man. I was like, damn, I don't know if I was able to talk about that until it drops, but
no,
sure.
Yeah, feel free. I'm actually doing a tribute piece coming out Monday for Malcolm Jamal Warner.
That's it.
It's basically going to be talking about his life and some of his work and what he represented to us as a community. So that's free to talk about. It'll go live for my paid Substack people on Sunday. It'll go live for the public on Monday.
Yeah, man. I'm definitely looking forward to that, man. Digging into that, and you're a great writer, Torraine, and to hear you express your thoughts and share some your scribings, your thoughts about brother Malcolm Jamal Warner, man. I'm looking forward to that article. And on the same note, brothers, I don't know. Let me see if I can. I don't know if you know, I've been doing this. I've opened up my own website here, Torraine, and this is just me just saying I'm hanging out a shingle, and okay. I'm offering support, and I'm doing some consulting. So,
word, that's beautiful, man. You are. Yeah, that's man. Great.
It's something, man, and I encourage anybody here, man, who's been working with the community, man, and working in media, working in whatever capacity, and realize that you have worth, man. Realize that you have something to offer. I looked up and said, damn, dog, I've been doing this for 14 years. I've been doing this full time for 10 years. I might have something I need to share with people. You know what I'm saying? Why am I not at least providing this as an option for people to consider, taking part of? I think a decade and something is a milestone. So that's when I decided to hang out my shingles. So it's the same thing with Torraine. I know Torraine does some consulting regards to I think it's filmmaking.
No, well, I do brand management. I have,
Brand management. That's it.
yeah. Matter of fact, I'll send you the link real quick, so people can check out my stuff if you don't mind.
Sure.
I do brand management for mostly. I've done a few things for smaller nonprofits because I feel like there's a lot of people who work in the nonprofit sector who are so focused on their work that they don't realize you still have to be able to get people to understand, get on top of your message. So I mostly work with like smaller, majority Black-owned nonprofits. I do videography as well. I'm a one-stop shop. I can do the scripts. I can do the videography. I can edit and everything like that, so people can check out my stuff. So that's what I do. That's my other side hustle. So I do that.
There you go, man. And yeah, man, I know you said something about, I think it was brand management. You were talking to me about it. And you're absolutely right, man. A lot of small businesses, you say nonprofit organizations, they got to focus on their nonprofit, I was actually talking to my son about, because he went to Morgan State. He was going for photography and filmmaking. And I said, you should be working with nonprofits, man. You know what it's like to put together a brand. You know what it's like to help people get their content out on social media. They don't have time to do it. If you're running, say you're helping with your community, you're doing, rehabbing old buildings, or maybe you're helping young people find work in the summer. I don't know, whatever your nonprofit is. Most of those nonprofits are going to be focused on their core offering, and they don't have time or have the wherewithal, the knowledge, expertise to promote it. And all they do is run Facebook ads, and they're probably just boosting.
Yeah.
They don't know exactly the intricacies of running that. You know what I'm saying? And I think we could be very helpful in that way.
Well, I got to tell you, brother, I think what you're doing is going to be very helpful too, especially if you're talking about consulting when it comes to politics, because as you know, and I know you've been very vocal about this, I think politics in America, especially Black politics, has had a rude awakening over the past 18 months. And there's a lot of people who are still in establishment politics that don't know where to put their feet. I see some of them are trying to dip back. I see some of them who had a lot of stuff to say before the election happened are trying to come back home, so to speak, and try to do their own thing. I see some people who had big TV shows who are out here basically doing drop balloon video stuff now, walking around with a mic like a YouTuber and stuff. I ain't saying no names, but I see somebody who used to talk real big walking around with a microphone with his name on it, walking around trying to talk to random people and stuff. Yep. And I see another sister who used to talk real greasy up until her girl didn't make it. Now she on YouTube and stuff, and they're trying to come back, basically trying to bogart people like you and me out of the space. We can't have that happen. We got to have real people with 10 toes down doing this stuff.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I think it's going to be a market for us. I know that there's a large amount of Black Americans and other folks that are interested. I advocate for the working class. My primary focus is Black Americans, but it resonates with everyone. We start talking about some of the issues that I hit, because I'm talking about immigration. That's like a third rail for some people. They're afraid to talk about it. I talk about it. I address it because I go so strong to say, and I want people to know, if you go to the Tim Black Show, we live stream Sunday, Monday, Sunday, Monday. I'm skipping now. I'm not going to do Thursdays. Fridays, yeah. Sunday, Monday, Fridays. I think that's how it is now. Sunday, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Yeah, Sunday, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I just removed Thursday because I needed more time to do other stuff. But I tell people, I say, I don't think that you're really a Black advocate. A lot of people call themselves Black activists. If you're unable to talk about immigration, to be critical of our immigration policy, in my opinion, it's just my opinion, Torraine, those people are not truly being advocates of Black America. Because where we're at right now, where Black America is, and we just went over the numbers for you, where Black Americans' businesses are, we cannot afford to take our eye off the ball. You want to go help other people find. You want to advocate some of these names, and we ain't gonna name them, because I respect Torraine. He's a journalist. He got to remain unbiased. But I'll say this: if you're gonna be advocating for all these other groups more than you advocate for Black Americans, I get it. Just stop saying you advocate for us. Go be the Latino outreach program instead of calling yourself the Black outreach. Be the diaspora empowerment zone instead of the Black empowerment zone. Like, give us our name back. Stop using Black and then advocating for everything that is everything else. Be the Rainbow Coalition. Don't be the Black Coalition. That's my only critique, man. I'm not saying you can't support these other groups. That's fine. But stop false advertising, because Black people, we ain't gonna let you cheat on us. You know what I'm saying? You're either promoting us, supporting us, advocating for us, or you're not. We ain't going for this people of color shit no more. We're not going for that. You know what I'm saying? We're not going for that anymore. We are a distinct group. We're in a distinct situation. We went through Jim Crow, chattel slavery, Jane Crow, police brutality. They dropped drugs in our communities. They flooded our communities with drugs. We are a particular group, and we deserve your undivided attention if that's what you say you do. If you work on forwards, you work on forwards. Stop talking to me about Nissans. If you work on forward, work on forward. If you say you support Black, support Black. Stop telling me about the Honduras people. There's Honduras groups. Stop talking to me about LGBTQ. Stop talking about trans issues. They got their groups. They have their support people. They don't need all of us doing that. We need this. If you're going to say you support Black, you work Black, you're advocating for Black Americans, I'm sorry, Torraine. Advocate for Black Americans if that's what you're advocating for.
No, you're absolutely right. And I think what's happening is, like I said earlier, if we're talking about a lot of Black political activism, a lot of Black political thought, a lot of it is still based in in my opinion, some of the outdated ideas of Pan-Africanism. Because the way that's been sold to Black Americans is that we are all one big Black family, and what happens in one place affects another. And to an extent, that's true. But if you go to every other country, you will see that the ideas of unity that they try to sell to America don't even fly over there. There are at least, like, just take Nigeria, for instance. How many tribes are in Nigeria? Maybe 300-400, if I'm not mistaken. And half of them are beefing with each other. And Nigeria went through a 10-year-long civil war between the Yorubas and the Igbos in the Biafran Civil War and stuff like that. There's constantly tribal wars going on over there. And you can't try to tell people over here to be unified when there's no unity on the continent. I mean, there's unity on the continent. I shout out to the brother like Ibrahim Traore and other people like that. But that's a very small group of people and very small group of countries compared to over here. And you can't really sell that image, and you can't sell that idea to people when we got people over here who are struggling, who have specific needs in this country that need to be dealt with. And you try to sell people about trying to build with people across the country, across the water, like my people used to say, and deal with that when we got stuff here to deal with. It's okay for advocates who are Black American who claim that to be able to focus on the things that are happening in the United States, and then let people in those other countries focus on the things that they're dealing with in those countries. Right. But if you're going to, like you said, if you're going to present yourself as an advocate for Black Americans, then you need to be focused on the issues that are pertaining to Black Americans. Everybody else has their own advocate groups, like you said. And to be honest with you, especially some of the groups that are over here advocating for their groups don't even like us in the first place. So let's focus on what we got to deal with and everything, and deal with that. Let everybody take care of themselves. Everybody else does that. We got to start doing that.
Man, look, I don't want to be the dead horse. I feel exactly the same way. Well said, Torraine. I don't even hold it against them. They come over here. If you're Nigerian, those are your countrymen. You have your fellow Nigerians. If you were coming to America and you were trying to do well in America, build your money up in America, you ain't thinking about coming to America and helping Black people. You're thinking about coming to America and helping yourself. You're thinking about coming to America and helping those people you came with, and that's understandable. It's almost crazy talk. Like I started. I guess my last word, I ended the way I began it. You never have to tell a Jewish American, a Jewish person, to shop Jewish. You never have to tell I never would have to tell a Korean brother to spend his money with Koreans or to shop Korean. It's a given. When I was in my late teens, man, I was looking for a job. I was tired of going to DC every day. I couldn't find a good job in DC. So at the time I was living in a suburb of Maryland called New Carrollton. There was a video shop across the street. It was owned by an Asian, I would like to say Korean brother. I went across the street to the video shop. That's what it was. That's how long ago it was. We used to have videotapes. And I said, man, you hiring? he looked at me. He's like, "You want to work here?" I was like, "Well, yeah, I work across the street would be convenient. I could work evenings or something, or something." He was like, "No, I don't think so. I don't think so." Well, I was like, "Well, why not?" He's like, "Well, just who is your father?" He started asking me questions about my family. So I would have to meet your family. I have to meet your mother. I'm like, I'm a grown ass man, dog. I don't live at home. But his culture, he just don't trust black people because they don't work outside their group. I would have to be vetted to a large degree before he would even consider it. Long story short, I ended up not working there, but I never forgot that experience. He wasn't ashamed to tell me. He was educating me on how his people operated. He lived in America, but he did not operate as Americans, as this melting pot tries to tell us. So with that, Torraine, I'll let you have the last word, my brother.
No, only thing I got to say, man, is like, we really have to come back to being a community. And community means you have to respect what your community builds. You have to be able to vibe with your community, and you have to be able to put back in your community, because I think that's a responsibility as well. And also, that doesn't mean that we have to go out here, because I think we need to stop doing this too. We got to stop looking for celebrities and people like that to start funding us and looking to save us. We have enough resources amongst ourselves to be able to build our communities back, and we got to start thinking like a community and stop thinking like individuals so much. That's been our downfall in a lot of ways, so we got to start building a home for us to come back to.
Hey man, perfectly well said, my brother. I appreciate you so much, Torraine, man. I'm glad this was Torraine's idea, man. And Torraine, man, hit me up again when you have another great idea like this, man, because I have a show to do tonight, but this right here feels like definitely was worth doing, man. And I appreciate it. I always enjoy chopping it up with you, man. No doubt.
My pleasure, Tim. Anytime I can try to come through to talk to you on the show, man, I'll come through, man. I love your show. I love what you're doing, man. And so I want to see you keep building, man. I love it.
And guys, don't forget to go check out Torraine, man. He's got his Substack. We're going to throw it back up. You know where to go for my shit. My shit is on timblacktv.com. There goes Torraine's math, all his information. Hire him. Let's buy black. Let's support black people that have businesses and other consulting or other agencies. Put them in the chat. And let's share that information. Let's get that out to the world, man. Let's do this amongst ourselves. And let's keep the party going, man. Let's buy black. All right?
Thank you, my brother.
All right, my brother. That's it, y'all. Torraine, thank you for being here once again. Thank you, everybody, for tuning into the Tim Black Show. I'll be back in about an hour for my Tim Black live show where I live stream the news. Until then, be safe. Remember, like I always say, don't let nobody take your cornbread. Remember, buy black. For real, though. Peace.
Simply amazing.
Now, that's what I'm talking about, eh? I can rock with that.
Most news shows are suspect. They don't focus on black issues, and when they do, it's all fluff. How does that help your life? How does that help your family? How does that help the culture? They don't. The Tim Black Show is different. Tim Black gives you news for people who can't stand the news. Real, authentic, researched, entertaining, on point. Don't let nobody take your cornbread. Visit www.timblacktv.com today. Get black breaking news, politics, culture from someone you can trust. timblacktv.com. Join us today.